Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is St. Patrick's Day, Wednesday, March 17th, 2021. I'm Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. And Coach, we get to celebrate St. Patrick's Day with some good memories from last night, some big scores, and some happy members.
Oh, absolutely, man. It was a blast. Just to ride out the double whammy, you hammered that FanDuel lineup, almost cracked 400. So hats off to you, man. That was phenomenal. And then I've been on this crazy after hours streak on the FanDuel slate,
Yep.
and I busted 350 on a two gamer. So it was like, what the heck? So it was awesome, man. Great job. And just awesome to see everybody so fired up in Discord. And I want to build on it today. You know me, I'm double figure games is my specialty. So I'm ready.
Yeah, and it really just was fun to see the screenshots from the members. We had a member take down a $2 single entry and a
Yeah.
$222 single entry. So we
Yes.
have members playing different amounts, and the member who took down the 222 made more money on that lineup than I did, but that's fine. I mean, that's the whole idea is we try to help members, no matter what they're playing, be successful,
Yeah.
build the bankroll, and it happened across the board. And then, like you said, late night we got the bonus with your lineup. DraftKings was good as well on the main slate, so
Yeah.
let's keep it rolling tonight. 10 games.
Fun times. And it goes to show, the coach process can work. Most of our members have adopted it. And, it doesn't matter what your bankroll is. If you have, 25 in there or 2,500, it's pretty foolproof. So now we just need to plug some more winners in there and we'll be good to go.
All right, let's do it. And this is a fun Wednesday because we're going to have a two brains are better than one FanDuel
Yes.
GPP lineup. We're going to build that at the end of the show. So
Yep.
let's build up to it here game by game. We've got 10, so we got our work cut out for us here. And we have 8 teams involved in a back to back and four
Yeah.
totals over 230. And once again, we have a magic 245.5 game, Sacramento and
Wow.
Washington. We'll get to that in a little bit. But we do have
That is a number.
yeah, we've got some good pace, some good offenses tonight, and some juicy totals. So
Yeah.
let's start with the 7 o'clock games. There are four of them, and the first one is actually a low total. It's Toronto and Detroit, 220.5 on
Yeah.
BetUS.com.pa, our presenting sponsor. Toronto favored by 3.5 on the road here. And we finally have a little bit of a potential shift in the injury news for Toronto. We still have OG Anunoby out, but now
Right.
Fred VanVleet is listed as doubtful, and Siakam, along with McCaw and Flynn, are listed as questionable. So we may have a deeper rotation for Toronto. And with Detroit, Diallo is still out, and then the guard rotation still has a bunch of question marks as Ellington is doubtful, Magruder and Dennis Smith Jr. are questionable. So low
Correct.
total here to start. Any interest in this one?
I mean, we have such a phenomenal slate here, just chuck loaded with value and pay up spots. And this game just, does not seem like a spot to go, except for one thing. If Siakam does not play, and that's going to be news we have to follow, right in Discord up until lock. But if he doesn't play, then obviously Lowry and Powell have to be considered because they absorb most of that usage. They've been crushing it lately. Detroit is not the best defensive team by any stretch. And, I'm interested there. If Siakam comes back, just because I think this will be a little bit more of a grind out game, and he just demands so much usage, it will lower Powell and Lowry on my list. But I'm looking, there's a consideration there. Same thing with Boucher. He's a little more expensive than, I really want to pay for him. But again, another guy that could smash the slate. So as far as the Toronto side goes, I'll go a one-off there if Siakam sits. If not, it'll be a pass. On the Detroit side, Jeremy Grant I rostered last time around, and he started well, but just hit the skids. I think he's dinged up a little bit. He just doesn't look 100% right to me, so I'm not going to go there. And after that, there's just a monster rotation of guys. One thing I did notice as well, Andrew, is Mason Plumlee is starting to lose a little bit of that time on the floor and usage. They're starting to really make a youth movement with Isaac and Dumbuyu, and now that they have Diallo, I mean, I think you're going to see a changing of the guard there a little bit. The one guy that did bring his value last few slates very well is Magruder, and he's dinged up a little bit. So just a very dangerous game. You don't want to get out to a poor start with someone here. So, unless we get news on Siakam that he's not playing, I very well may have no exposure here. But if he is out, then I think it is necessary to roster at least one Raptor.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're certainly in play if all those guys are out again. This is a slow-paced game with Detroit being 24th, and I just don't want to get much exposure here other than really a pivot in a GPP to get unique and pay up, so to speak, for a guy like Powell in the mid 7Ks.
Yeah.
And then there are several guards here that could be a GPP value. The one on Toronto is Terrence Davis if he starts again in the mid 3K range, but he's not that exciting. And then with Detroit, Magruder, if he starts, and Ellington and Smith Jr. out again. Or if they're all out, then Saban Lee potentially steps up. But like you said, the forward minutes, the big guy minutes, they were a little bit more mixed. Grant and Plumlee did not get 30 minutes. Isaiah Stewart had about 24. So, Toronto's not as strong defensively without those guys. They're 14th right now. But if Detroit's going to mix it up like that and give those young guys more run, then I don't really want to invest in any of those Pistons tonight.
I agree.
All right, game 2. And this one's got a little bit more excitement. The total's 232. It's Brooklyn and Indiana. The Nets favored by 3.5. Durant still out, of course. On the Indiana side, Jeremy Lamb is questionable. And this is an island game for both teams. Interesting, when they played about a month ago, it was pretty low scoring, 104 to 94.
Yeah.
So, Indiana's defense was solid enough. And the thing that surprises me is that now they're both tied for 10th in pace. And with Brooklyn still having the number one offense in the NBA, I'm surprised that game was so low scoring. So that's why this one's 232. There's a couple other big total games coming up that I think I like a little bit more, but we really should start the discussion here with Karis LeVert because he's facing
mispriced.
FanDuel's gone and done it again, Coach.
It's ridiculous.
4,400 on FanDuel, 6,800 on DraftKings.
The thing that sucks about that is it's like you're playing with one less guy on your team because everybody's got to put him in at that price. It's so agitating when they do that because he's going to be 85% owned at that, totally mispriced number. But it is what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny that it's done to a guy like that who is going against a 22nd ranked defense.
Yeah, really.
And it's a narrative game, and he's ramping up in minutes. He got 29 against Denver. So, yeah, he's locked in for me. I'm not going to play him on DraftKings, but FanDuel for sure. And then, if it wasn't such a glaring value there, a couple other guys in this game might be more attractive. Guys like Justin Holiday right next to him, he's only 4,000 on FanDuel as a small forward. In the last 5 games, he's attempted 45 threes. So 9 a game, and he's shooting over 40% on the season. And watching that Denver game, they lost him while they were paying a little bit more attention to LeVert. So Holiday got more shots and did well. So you could look there. And then on the Brooklyn side, they did a pretty good job stifling Harden. Kyrie had a big game against Indiana. So I guess if I was going to invest there, I'd probably stick with Irving. He's a lot cheaper than Harden. But I'm not thrilled about either one of those guys tonight. They're not my favorite pay up options. And then Joe Harris, he's finally at that price on FanDuel where I'll consider him at 3,800. And I just don't like playing him with Kyrie and Harden, but that price is pretty low. I can't really ignore that anymore.
Yeah, I
On
mean, he was
FanDuel.
upper fives not that long ago.
Yep. And
Yep.
Jeff Green, if he starts again at 4,200, you could look there. He had a nice little renaissance against New York. And the thing that benefits him as a starter is he gets the great assists from Harden. And
Yeah.
he just doesn't get that off the bench when he's not playing with those guys as much. So, maybe a one-off in addition to Levert, who's going to be locked in for me on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you right now, Karis LeVert with this narrative game, with everything going, I really don't care that he's so mispriced. I'm playing him everywhere. I'm
Yep.
playing him on DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, Super Draft, everywhere. I just think this, it just sets up so well for him from all different angles. Who's going to be defending him? The pace of play, the expectation of the over-under in this game. I looked at that last time they played as well, and I think it was just a bit of an aberration. One of the teams was on a 3 and 4 days. It just was one of those oddities. I think this game gets a lot more pep in its step, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I sort of like Kyrie Irving in this game. I think that he's priced just a little bit less than the big super studs, and I don't think he's going to be owned very much because everybody's going to outshine him in different spots here when people want to pay up. So I like Irving. I like Joe Harris at that price. It's just way too cheap. I mean, he should be 52, 54, not 38. So he's going to get some of the periphery stuff on this team in a game that's paced like this. So I'm with you on him. On the Indiana side, like I say, I really like LeVert. I think you made a great point with Holiday. I've been watching him lately because I was worried that with LeVert coming back that he would really take a nosedive. But you pointed out a great stat. I didn't really look at that stat to realize he took that many threes, but I know that his usage hasn't been smashed by LeVert by any stretch, and he's actually, as you alluded to, getting more open shots. So I think that creates a situation where there's some value there. Now, with 20 teams playing and some of these other games we'll talk about, there is good value out there, but I'm not afraid to go a Harris Holiday as the two value plays in my lineup at this point. So they very well could make it in there with LeVert and Irving in my book. I think, Brogdon is tempting here. Is just his price has gone up a little bit again. And I'm just not ready to take a point guard spot with him here with this many good players. I already decided as great as Harden is and as much as he could smash this game, I just don't want to pay that crazy number for him. I think Kyrie gives you a similar ceiling, not quite as good, but similar at cheaper. I like exposure to this game. No question could have 2 or 3 guys from my team in this ball game.
Excellent. All right, well, let's go to the next ball game. It's a good matchup, Milwaukee and Philly.
Yeah.
And it's a 236 total, second highest total on the board. Milwaukee favored by 6. And they are favored because Philly will be without Embiid again, of course, and it is a back-to-back for them after a tough, close win over the Knicks.
Yeah, that was a good game.
Yeah. Now, other than Embiid, I'm not seeing any injury news here on this one. So, with this awesome pace, Milwaukee 4th, Philly 7th, and good offenses, both top 12 on offense, how do we balance that out with two teams who are in the top 10 defensively as well?
Well, for me, defense generally rules the roost. And you got to remember, these two teams, as much as they are a good pace, they get a lot of their stuff off of defensive transition. Because they have Giannis and because they have Embiid, you're getting a lot of stops. You're getting blocks, deflections. Drew Holiday's a dog. Simmons is a dog. Those guys force the tempo because of other teams' inefficiency to not turn the ball over with Milwaukee and Philadelphia's stout defense. Now, Philly doesn't have Embiid. He is the monster anchor of that defensive side. But I'll tell you what, watching Philly since the last two games that Embiid's been out, Doc's turned up the fire and put the challenge out there because they are playing very good D. Simmons, of course, elite. Danny Green is elite. Thibel's elite. Harris is playing harder. I'm really impressed with the defense that they played even without Embiid. And on the other side, Milwaukee's just terrific. Brook Lopez had blocks. He was protecting the rim. Giannis deflects. He's, Mr. Stretch man. He boggles my mind watching him play. And, they have some other really good defenders, including Drew, who's now back into a groove. So to answer your question, in this game, with what I think the pace will be, a real grind it out, try to win a close game, don't turn the ball over to let the other team get all those push out defensive transition points. And Doc knows that it's the second night of a back-to-back, so he does not want to get into a running game. So my hope in the industry is because of the super studs in here with Giannis and Tobias and Ben Simmons, etc. I think this game is going to get ownership. And to me, just from a strategically looking at how the game scripting is going to go, I think this is going to be a low DFS number game. And, with 10 games on the slate, I'm hoping passing and fading this game completely will give our members an edge.
Yeah, I'm on the borderline. I'm considering a fade. There aren't any price tags that I think are terrific other than Drew Holiday. Again, I think he's underpriced, 5,900 on FanDuel. And it is a tough combination of defense with Ben Simmons, Danny Green, depending on who matches up with him. So it's not a lock and load for me, but I do like Drew Holiday and the fact that he's played 32 minutes 2 games in a row. And with Simmons, sort of a similar situation. 7,900 on FanDuel is playable for me. But, tough defense for Milwaukee, whether it's Drew and or the size in the paint there, because we know that Ben likes to get out, run, get to the rim, and it's a little bit tougher when you have to weave through Giannis and Brook Lopez after trying to get around Drew Holiday. So could be a pass for me, but I think those point guards are the guys that I like the most.
Yep.
Now, Game 4, Coach. Sacramento and Washington. And this is a big reason why I'll feel more comfortable potentially passing the Milwaukee-Philly game, because this is as juicy as it gets. 245.5 total.
That's the biggest number of the season so far.
Yeah, and Washington favored by 3 at home. This is a front end of the back-to-back for them, but we usually get full Westbrook and Beal minutes in this situation. In terms of the news, we have Hassan Whiteside questionable to get back in. He's been dealing with the health and safety protocols. But Bagley is out with a broken hand.
Yeah.
So big pieces of news there to see how things shake out with the bigs, because if with Bagley out, if Hassan Whiteside's out again, I think Bielitsa steps up, and he's really cheap. On the Washington side, we've got Neto questionable. Everybody else ready to go. So this is a game that I'm going to have a lot of my exposure with. Number 1 in pace for Washington. Sacramento is 9th. And what a combination of defense here. Sacramento 30th, Washington 27th.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stack this game pretty heavily. I like Fox. I like Hield. We love attacking the Washington backcourt. And their prices are fine. They've both been playing well. I like Rashawn Holmes here. Centers against Washington have been excellent. Like I said, I like Bielitsa as a value too if he starts. On the bench, I'm not going to go to Halliburton. He has been slowly ramping up his minutes. He is up to 28 in the last game, but Heald is basically the same price, so I'd rather stick with Buddy here. And
Yeah.
then the GPP bench option could be Jabari Parker. This is
Hmm.
if Whiteside is out, if Bagley is out, and Bielitsa starts. I think he's the only kind of quote unquote big that they might play. So at bare minimum price, if he gets 20 minutes, he could pay off. He hasn't really done much this season. He's been out. He's only played in 3 games. So he's not my favorite value play. I just wanted to mention that part of the rotation, and I think it's a really important one on this slate. With Washington, I think you could go with Westbrook or Beal. I don't plan to stack them both. I'd rather get multiple Sacramento guys here. So it kind of comes down to the site you're on and the roster construction. And then I'm definitely open with to getting a secondary Washington guy. Rui is still a good price on both
Yeah.
sites. And then Denny Avdia and Bertans are the same price or even a little bit cheaper than they have been.
Right.
So, adding one of them to the mix makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to have a lot of guys here, Coach. What about you?
Yeah, this is a full pass game for me. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, right.
I couldn't even say it with a straight face.
I know you could.
I think that the biggest question of the day is how many is too many from this game?
Yep.
Because it's that fine line of I do not believe there'll be a single optimal lineup on any of the sites that doesn't have multiple players from this game. But you can also overexpose yourself to a game, and there's just only so many DFS points to go around. Here's where I'm at right now. I mean, I just got to just lay it out there because it's morning. We've got all day to figure this out. And, as of right now, I want to roster at least 4 guys from this game. Probably 2 and 2, Sacramento and Washington. There is the possibility, and it's slim, that I may go 3 Sacramento, 2 Washington. So it's a 10-game slate. You've got to be smart. I don't like stacking in the NBA. I stack all day long in baseball, etc. But in the NBA, it doesn't usually work. We do have an exception here. It's the perfect storm. The 2 teams we attack all the time are playing each other. Pace, defense, everything fits. So it's just that one exception where I think mini stacking here is the really the way to go. It's funny because I like Fox, Halliburton, Hield, Barnes, and Holmes. I like all 5 guys. I think Halliburton's going to get more run than he has. Fox in just a guarded seat spot here. Hield's been hitting quite a few shots. Harrison Barnes, if you look at how steady he's been, 30s and 40s all the time at a price that's gotten a little pricey, but definitely can make value. I love Holmes. I think Holmes is a terrific play. He loves to run the floor, tip dunks, alley-oops. He's a high flyer above the rim guy, and that generally gives Washington a bunch of trouble. So, right now, again, it all comes down to cost. Love to go Fox, Holmes. I may end up going Halliburton, Holmes, but the other guys are in play. I'm looking at figuring that out. I'll certainly have a GPP with 3 of them. On the Washington side, the 3 guys I'm focusing, 4 guys I'm considering. Westbrook and Beal, no kidding. But you can't, in my opinion, roster both. So the question is which guy, and it's razor thin. I normally would say, I got an edge to this guy, but the fact, I would have given a slight edge to Beal, but now that Neto might not play, it could get a little extra run for Westbrook, a couple of minutes here and there, because they don't have as good of a backup. So I'm dead set on playing one of them. I'm just not sure which one. The other 2 guys that I like, Rui was called out by Scott Brooks about 2-3 games ago that he just didn't think he was playing hard. He was, he needed to earn his minutes, et cetera, et cetera. And man, did he step up. And, this is one of those scenarios where you look at a guy like Rui and you say, okay, you're going to roster Rui, you're chasing points, you're chasing his best game of the year, blah, blah, blah. Or you look at it from the standpoint I see a little bit more here is there's been a pattern now of he being challenged by his coach, him stepping up, being more of an integral part of the offense, and he's playing harder. You can just see it. So I don't think it's chasing. I think he's a really good option in just a perfect game situation. And then on the super cheap side, I really like Denny Advia off the bench. He's just a kid. He's, I think, just turned 20, and he's starting to get it. And he's active and he's very long for a guy that can play wing positions and pretty much all over the place. And his minutes have been pretty steady coming off the bench. And again, you got a situation here where you can just move everybody's expectations up DFS points wise. So that's the big conglomeration of guys I have from this game. And I can promise you I'll come out of this with probably 4 guys. It's just, perfect storm game. You can't fade, in my opinion. And if you do, man, you got to tell me why, because I don't see any reason to, not have multiple people in your lineup from this game. And that goes for whatever, cash, GPP, single entry. It's just a must-have game.
Yeah, Coach, the only way you can fade this game, in my opinion, is if you're playing a slate that doesn't have it on it.
There you go.
You're playing another
that
late slate.
Then you're just wanting to donate.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, so this next game, as we move to the 8 o'clock hour, we're not going to stack this one. It's Boston and Cleveland, 217.5 total, lowest on the board. Boston favored by 9. Both teams on a back-to-back. Celtics lost at home to Utah. Cleveland lost to Miami at home. And we've got number 21 and number 26 in pace. Cleveland now 30th offensively. Two teams.
Oh, sorry. I dozed off with you just talking about it.
Now, these teams are below average defensively, but, with the pace and the bad offense of Cleveland, I'll be surprised if you have much here. In terms of the injuries, that could potentially open up an option or two. We've got Tristan Thompson. I'm going to label him as doubtful. He missed yesterday with the health and safety protocols designation, but they didn't announce why. So there's a chance he gets back out there. We've seen that happen before, but assuming he's out, Tice really stepped up yesterday. We've got Kemba, who I'm marking as questionable since it's a back-to-back. So maybe some value with the guards there. And then on the Cleveland side, we have Kevin Love, doubtful. So any interest in this one with some potential absences?
No. This game's just terrible. And it's funny. The coach here is all about love and everything, but I do have a secret I hate you more than life itself NBA list. And I forgot to mention that Alex Len is now on that list for me after that last dud. He sunk my whole lineup, so he's dead to me. And there's another guy that I'm furious about, and that's Daniel Tice. I rostered him across the board, nothing. Last game, he goes bonkers.
Yep.
And so he's on. So two guys get to jump on that list with the likes of Danny Green and Michael Porter Jr. and some other coach no guys. So anyway, this game stinks. I mean, it's going to be slow paced. Why pay up for Browns, Tatums, Sextons, Walkers? It's just not enough available points. Too much bust potential in this game. Nance is starting to get better run, so he's somebody to keep an eye on, but really don't want to go there. Just in the thoughts of time here, I'm not even going to waste going over guys when this game just doesn't interest me at all.
Yeah, I could get a one-off here. Tice, 4,400 as a power forward on FanDuel, could make my lineup. Pritchard could make my lineup if Kemba is out. He's 3,200 and 3,500. And then Nance, he was on the clipboard yesterday. He hit value, and he's still in the 4K range. Not as excited about him on this slate, but if I had to play somebody from Cleveland, that's who it would be, assuming Love is out again.
I do want to mention one thing because it is a stat worth mentioning, even though I'm still not going to go there. If Kemba sits, the biggest bump, and it's not close, is it goes to Jashon Tatum. His assist rate goes up by 3, which is unheard of. He scores more points. I guess, the bottom line is he's sort of the pseudo point guard. Even with Pritchard out there in limited minutes, Tatum handles the ball a lot. So if for some reason Kemba sits and you do have salary left, Tatum is probably a pretty sharp cash play.
Okay. The next 8 o'clock game, San Antonio and Chicago, 227.5 total in Chicago, where the Bulls are favored by 1.5. They had a nice win last night against OKC. The news here, we've got DeMar DeRozan still out.
Yeah.
And on Chicago, everybody's ready to go. Now, this one is, let's see. It's worth discussing. We got to get into San Antonio here a bit because with DeMar DeRozan out, there is some opportunity. Chicago's 16th defensively and their 6th pace. Right. So San Antonio could put up some points. And here's the thing with the Spurs. Everybody, to me, is a guy that could pay off in a GPP because they're all pretty decent price tags. DeJounte Murray's the only expensive player. And he's the one that I wouldn't play because Chicago did a really good job containing Shea yesterday. And I think Shea and DeJounte Murray have a very similar profile, size and style of trying to get to the rim. So I could see you playing a Spur in a GPP. Keldon Johnson finally got to 31 minutes in the last game against Detroit. Didn't do a lot, but his price is still low. He could finally put it together. White and Lonnie Walker, if they're starting again, they could do it. Mills, Rudy, really everybody who's in the rotation. Now, I also want to mention Drew Eubanks. And
hey, I want you to know that, the DFS world is still shocked at that Drew Eubanks joke from the other day. It just it sent ripples through the industry.
I know. Hey.
And I want you also to know that when I turned that game on, the first guy I saw was Drew Eubanks on the floor.
Probably making a sweet move, right? Like he always does. But you might be surprised, Coach, because although Drew Eubanks in his last 3 games has gone 6x, 7x, and 12x, I actually don't even know if I would put him in a game in a lineup tonight because you just don't know with Pop. I mean, Lyles didn't play the last game. What if Pop says, you know what, I've seen enough Drew Eubanks. He's a stud. I want to get Lyles back out there and see what he's up to. So, with all the other value here on this slate, I'm not going to go to the Spurs here. And then on the Chicago side, I think you could consider either guard. Satoransky is still in the 3K range on both sites after 2 straight games over 30 fantasy points.
Yeah.
Does he get a little less run on a back-to-back? Maybe. And then Levine, he's in the 8K range. He was awesome last night, and he can handle a back-to-back. So I could see playing one of the Bulls guards, but I'm not going to go with any of the forwards or bigs there. So this is, maybe a one-off. Most likely a guy like Satoransky at that cheap price, but otherwise mostly a pass for me.
Yeah, I think I like this game even less than Boston-Cleveland. I just hate this game as well. I mean, the guy that you would want out of this game is Levine, but I still don't want to pay that. That's still a high price, and it doesn't allow you to jump on these games with big totals. But Satoransky deserves a mention because they didn't raise his price, and he is starting, and he's getting good minutes, and he's coming through. The only thing I will say is I've noticed that he's not finishing games all the time either. Since he's been in this role, they have let Kobe White finish, and so that is a bit of a concern. I do like that this game could stay close, and because if I do need that extra value spot, I wouldn't panic as far as taking Satoransky. I still feel good about it. They should have raised his price, and they didn't. But he's the only guy, excuse me, on the Chicago side that I'm looking at. You can get some value there with Patrick Williams, who's certainly playing good ball. But Chicago's got all their guys back. Now with Thad Young, Otto Porter Jr., Markkanen, Wendell Carter. I mean, most of those guys were out for chunks of the game or chunks of the season. And that's the other reason. I know Levine killed it last night, but I think his price is still too high. I'm going to wait for it to come down some more. And, Porter needs the ball. Thad Young, they don't run plays for him, but he gets a lot of offensive rebounds. Markkanen, like I said, is somewhat of that alpha dog fight with Levine. Markkanen wants to shoot. So I'm not into the Chicago scenario. San Antonio, you know what? It is a good night for my blood pressure when I don't roster any Spurs.
Yes, definitely.
So that'll just sum it up right there. So not a game that I want exposure to, but I do have Satoransky for the emergency value man.
All right, excellent. Let's go to the last 8 o'clock game. It's Golden State in Houston, 226.5 total. How about Golden State being favored by 12.5? Pretty exciting for that team. It's 20-20. And big pace game here. Golden State number 2, Houston number 4. Solid defense, though. Golden State 7th, Houston 13th. And we continue to have big news here with Houston and their tight rotation. We have Wall and Nwaba still out. We have marked Oladipo as doubtful, but we don't think he's going to play because it's a back-to-back. And they only had 8 guys yesterday. So out of these question marks, do we get somebody back? Christian Wood, potentially, or House, or Ben McLemore. They need one of those guys to get out there to have 8. So talk me through this one, and what do we do with this potentially tight rotation for Houston again?
Well, it's funny because I remember very well Calvin Murphy, the guard from Houston.
Yep.
When I was a kid, phenomenal player at about 5'9", and just, one of the greatest free throw shooters of all times as well. But he's the commentator now. He always wears those crazy wild suits. I mean, the wildest suits. I remember him interviewing the coach. And he said, Coach, I got to give you my hat off. 11-10, above 500. That is a fantastic job. Well, you know what their record is now, Andrew?
11-27.
They've dropped 17 straight.
They probably feel like they've won 17 in a row, searching for that high lottery pick.
I would say, that is pretty much over. They know that they're going to. I think they're going to get it. I just don't see any way around it. Question is, will they win again? I mean, they're so banged up, and they're trying to trade Oladipo on top of that. So there'll even be, more draft picks, less good players out there. But, there's certainly a concern that this game could cancel. I mean, it's very possible. I mean, right now, as we sit here, I only know of 7 guys that they're going to play. So, we need to get that news and find out. And again, it's going to be an hour later. They'll cancel way before that, though, if they can't roster it. So keep the news on it, because I'm with you, Andrew, with the super short rotation. Whether they get that 8th guy, he may not play that much. And they're going to play the daylights out of Kevin Porter. He played point guard for them in this last game. He makes things happen. He can score. He can pass it. An exciting guy to play out there. I think he's, with the short rotation, if this game goes, Curry's not a great defender, or Wiggins will play him. I think Porter is high on my list, and probably a guy that I'm going to go to. Jashon Tate was phenomenal the last game, but I believe that would be a points chase because he's played multiple games throughout this year now. And he's steady, and I like him, but he's that ceiling, I think, was what we saw that last game. And I know now, if Oladipo sits, somebody's got to score, somebody's got to do something, but we need to get the rest of the news, because if House is back or Wood is back specifically, or even McLemore, that changes the usage rates and definitely eliminates, to me, guys like Tate and Brown. And they're both in play or for discussion if all the guys sit. So it's news dependent. The only guy that it doesn't really matter to me, news or not, is Porter. I think he's, without question, the man as far as handling the ball, being their main facilitator and scorer. There's not a whole lot that you can feel much more comfortable with there. the one good thing you can say on the Houston side is obviously with that low of a number of players, they are blowout proof. So you're going to get extra run. And I'll tell you, that helped me last night. If you watch the very end of that game, Porter got about 8 fantasy points in that last minute. I swear, he had a dunk and a layup and a steal. And so, you got to love that as DFS pile on, in a 25-point game. So I think Houston's got to be in the cards, as painful as it is, just because of that short group of players. Now, on the Golden State side, I feel exactly the opposite. They have a deep bench. They have guys that have busted into their rotation, the Lees and, the Pascals in there, and Weissman and Looney, and you just lots of rotations, lots of guys. Don't see how Golden State doesn't smack them here. The total and the line would suggest as well. Curry's not going to get ridiculous minutes if the game's blowing out and his price is super high. So I'm not going to even mess with praying that the Golden State guys get run in a 25-point game, especially with their depth, and their bench is pretty good. So for me, it's all Houston consideration here, starting with Porter, and then a pass on Golden State.
Yeah, I like Porter here. He's a lot of fun to watch. I mean, he's like the new baby version of James Harden, because he's the lefty who'll use the step back and hit it and play with confidence and get to the rim. Yeah. And he also adds that defense, some steals and blocks, and
he does.
Just
quick.
Love rostering him and watching him. So great spot for him tonight with Oladipo likely out. KJ Martin.
Dude, did you see that dunk?
I did. I was watching that.
Left hand. I'm telling, if he doesn't win the slam dunk contest in the next year or two, I'll be shocked, because that dude can fly.
He's got some hops, man. That guy is an athlete, and I like his intensity too. So
yeah,
he's a guy that you could look at to get a little bit more done than last night. And then
he's going to block shots for you. You know that.
Yeah. And then Wiseman now on FanDuel. Here's if I'm going to play one GPP guy for Golden State, it's Wiseman on FanDuel, because he's only 3,800.
Yeah.
He got up to 28 minutes last game, and who's going to defend him off the bench? If Patton starts, Wiseman comes off the bench like he always does with Looney starting. It's going to have to be a guy like KJ Martin, trying to use his athleticism, which he could give Wiseman trouble, but I could see Wiseman having a solid return on 3,800 on FanDuel. But other than that, Porter, and that's the key focus for me as well. All right, Coach, 3 games left before we build our 2 brains are better than one lineup. And we get to 9 o'clock here with Miami and Memphis. Lower total, 220.5. Miami favored by 2 after that win over Cleveland. And with Miami's 26th pace, their 4th-ranked defense, Memphis' 8th-ranked defense, I do not have interest in this game really at all. Bam is back in the mix. He got 30 minutes. Kelly Olynyk still played well in Cleveland, but, back-to-back, not expecting a high-scoring game here. We had the big mix of minutes with those guards. Hero stepped up a little bit. Sure, you could throw him in a GPP at 5,300, but right. I just don't want to get involved there. We do have Iguodala now out, along with Avery Bradley. He's already been confirmed out, and Mo Harkless. So maybe somebody new jumps into that rotation. We have members who ask about Strus a lot. Maybe he plays tonight, but I'm not going to play anybody from Miami, and I'm not going to play anybody from Memphis, because they had sort of a mess rotation last game, and Justice Winslow had taken the night off. So with him back in the mix again tonight, it's just going to muddy the waters even more. Bain, Brooks, Melton, Allen, these guys just not interested against Miami's great defense. And this is almost one of the rare situations where I don't even care what these guys' prices are in this game. I'm just not playing them. So pass game for me.
Well, here's my narrative street of the day, and I like it at the price, and he's rested, as you stated. Justice Winslow against the Heat. He was supposed to be a building block of that team, and just sort of got run out of town there. So he gets to play against the Heat guys, and a lot of people still don't realize he's not on the Heat anymore. He's on the Grizzlies. So I like the fact that he's going to be able to step up here. I think that he's a real safe play, even in cash, because with the rest, he was getting closing in on 30 minutes. He got 25 to 28 in a couple of games before the rest. And I think they rested in the last game so he would be fresh for this one, because the coach knows what this means to him. And, I think that came into play. I really do. He's a coach's coach, or a player's coach. And, I really like Justice Winslow as my somewhat secret squirrel of the day, to really show out against his old team. Now, it's not like he doesn't have to, beat Butler and Bam and some of the really great defenders there, but I think he'll have the ball enough playing that pseudo point forward position. When Ja's off the floor, he'll do most of the ball handling, and if not, he'll be sharing in that with Ja when he's out there. So I'm probably going to dial up quite a bit of Winslow tonight, but I'm with you on the rest of the stuff. You have, a Miami team now that they have all their key guys back, just are super deep, and they're a dangerous team, and they can rotate those guards on you. I don't see how you can play any Miami guards and ever feel good, because they have 6 of them that could have a fine game. And, that usually spells doom for DFS. It's like playing roulette on that one. So not going to spend up for Bam or Butler in a better defensive game like this. Probably just the narrative here with Winslow, and that would be it for me.
Okay, yeah, I could see him cranking it up a little bit. So we'll see if that pays off. All right, 2 games to go. We've got Charlotte and Denver also at 9 o'clock.
Why don't we throw out, so we have these 2 games left, because we're going to forget before we build the 2 brains lineup. I just want to say something real quick, and then
Sure.
You can jump in and finish it. Great time to get involved here at Coach Talk. We've won 7 out of the last 9 days, hammering slates, takedowns all over the place. Come and join us. If you just want to dip your toes in the water, 3 days, $10, can't beat it. Wonderful things we're announcing this week too. Great relationship and partnership now with some fantastic sites in the industry. Monkey Knife Fights, Super Draft are 2 of them. There'll be some really good promos that'll be coming out there. And also, if you become a member, you can still jump into our NCAA tournament contest, the first annual challenge there, where we're giving out some merchandise and free memberships. So love to have you join there. And then why don't you finish up with our 149er?
Oh, yeah, perfect time, especially if you're into the NCAA tournament. You want to make some wagers there. Join us through betus.com.pa. If you can make your first deposit there, do it for $149 with the promo code CoachTalk, and you're going to get to use that $149 at BetUS and get a free membership with us all the way until June 1st. So the bulk of the rest of the NBA season, all of our MLB coverage, PGA every week. So jump in there, and after you do that, just let us know on Twitter that you've signed up at BetUS, and then we'll get you into our Discord with an email. And that's where we give out the lineups 20 to 30 minutes before lock. So jump in tonight and you'll get our golf lineups as well.
Beautiful.
All right, Coach. Let's see these last 2 quickly before we build the lineup. We've got Charlotte and Denver. 230.5 total. Nuggets favored by 6.5. And slow pace here with Denver 28th. Charlotte is 10th. And their offense is 17th. But middle of the road defense here, 17 and 18. And the absences here with Denver, we still have Morris, Harris, and RJ Hampton out. So any interest in this lower total game?
You're going to be shocked here, but I sort of like the Joker tonight. I think he's going to be the forgotten man, and because of the pace here and all these monster games, he's just such a phenomenal stud. And he didn't crush his total last game out. This, I think, is going to be a close, hard-fought game. And I just don't think the combination of Zeller, Biyombo, and Washington will be able to hold him down. Um, I, I'm thinking about making him my other pay-up play here, uh, just because I think I'm going to get him real sneaky at low ownership. And it doesn't take much for him. I mean, 3-4 times down the court, you look at it, and he's got 15 fantasy points. Boom. So, I'm knew that one would surprise you, but I really like him. I think he's got a great chance here to have a 7x game at his number. I think might be necessary in your optimal lineup. So that's my big takeaway from the Denver side. Not real high on anybody else with the rotation there. I know Barton's been playing much better, so you could look at him super priced down if you think Campazzo's going to have one of his decent games, but a little risky on a 10-game slate. Charlotte, it's tough now for me because I like Ball and Rozier so much, but with Devontae playing and Gordon Hayward scooping a bunch of usage from those guys, I just can't do it. It's just too many basketballs, not enough basketballs to go around is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Because I think they all have to eat off of that. And it was funny because we had shares of Ball and Rozier last time, and Hayward really was demanding the ball and taking a lot of shots. So, his price isn't that bad, but not going to any of those guys on the Charlotte side just because of the share mentality, because they're a decent team. 2 games over 500, really the surprise team of the year. So this might be a joker day for me, believe it or not.
Interesting. Yeah, he will be under the radar. I mean, think about all the studs we've already talked about in
That's right.
high total games. So you'll get him at lower ownership. I don't like this game in general. Don't want to play anybody from Charlotte. Like you said, guy like Barton could certainly pay off. But I will have spent most of my money here at this point.
Okay.
And then, again, funny that the next game here, we've got the Clippers and Mavericks.
Yeah.
And, the second ESPN game, a lot of eyes will be on this one. And there's a guy named Luka in this one. We haven't mentioned him yet either. So
never heard of him.
What a slate. For this last one, it's the only 9:30 game, 226.5 total. This is a rematch from Monday. Clippers won that one low scoring, 109-99. And, we weren't too surprised by that. This pace here is 24th and 23rd. These are 2 very good offenses, though, 2nd and 11th. The news here, big for me, Ibaka questionable again. If he sits, I'm going to go right back to Zubats in some of my lineups, especially on DraftKings where you can play 2 centers. He's only 4,500, had a nice double-double in 35 minutes against Dallas. That's what we want for Zubats.
Yeah.
Anything that starts with a 3 with his minute total, and you can feel good about getting him out there.
Yeah.
Marcus Morris, you got to mention him as well. Now starting over Batum, and he's still cheap on both sites as a starter. Certainly in the mix for me. On the season, he's 45% from three-point land. So
that's incredible.
Watch out for him, feeling good now as a starter. And then on the Dallas side, Luka, in that low total game, 68.5 fantasy points, triple-double, Luka being Luka. So he's sort of in the Jokic category for me. Maybe a little bit under-owned, but wouldn't surprise me if he puts up 60 or 70 and gets a triple-double. So this will be interesting because it probably won't be a guy like Luka in my primary lineup, but I could see him paying off for sure.
Yeah, it's hard for me. I think this game, I really think the Clippers have the upper hand in this game, to be honest with you. I'm concerned because when they played last, the Mavs actually played pretty good. They defended decently, they hit shots, and they still couldn't win. They could never get over the hump in that game. Luka's, do you pay up for him? I think I'm going to go Joker instead. And my reasoning is the Clippers still have such good defenders. And if you notice, there were stretches, they tried all kind of different guys on Luka. They had Reggie on him, just trying to speed him. And they had George on him. They actually put Kawhi on him in the third quarter when he had gotten hot. And, Luka is magic, that's for sure. But at that price against, two or three guys, if Ibaka plays, especially, three guys on the court that are all NBA defensive players, it just scares me. And same thing with KP. Those two guys are big price up guys. And, it's a concern. Too many teams on this slate to look at any of the other players for Dallas, in my opinion. And, for the Clippers, you're getting that timeshare again with George and Leonard. And now Morris is in the mix. And I've always liked Marcus Morris. He's the guy from the Clippers that I'm looking to play as a value play, because I think the guy can score. I mean, I had him all the time in my lineups when he was at Detroit and starting and playing a main role there. And it doesn't surprise me that he's shooting 45% from three, because he can shoot it. And, the Mavs don't have a great matchup for him, whether it's Zubac or Ibaka in there next to him. So Morris is a good pay down guy. I'm with you, though. I probably won't have Zubac on FanDuel, but on DraftKings and Yahoo, where you can have multiple centers. If Ibaka sits and Zubac starts, I think you got to plug him in at that price. Do you know what he's shooting against the Mavericks the last 3 times they've played each other? Take a guess at the percentage.
80%.
82%.
All right.
That's pathetic. Now, granted, they're almost all dunks, but still, it is what it is. You're getting to the rim and finishing. So you win both showcases. You stayed under, by the way. I think that's a consideration. If Ibaka's playing, then that's an immediate scratch off for me. So, I know this is the late game, and so that's going to create a little bit more interest. It's a bunch of stars. That creates more interest. It's national TV, ESPN. So you know what I'm going to say. It's going to be over-owned. You're going to have an extra 3, 4, 5% at least on guys like Kawhi and Luka, because everybody wants to watch their guys smash. And, if I can get away from some of that, to me, fake ownership a bit, I'm going to do that. But I like Morris in that mix in order to make the lineups work.
All right, well, let's get some real ownership together here with our two brains are better than one lineup. Coach, I'm going to let you go first. As always, follow us on Twitter for any changes to this lineup at DFS Coach Talk. Sometimes it happens with the news in this day and age. Coach, start us off here.
I get the first overall pick in the draft, huh?
Yep.
That is pretty impressive stuff. Trying to see which way we're going to go with this. I am going to look at, you're going to be stunned here. This is a stunner right off the bat after all the preaching that I did. But I know that you don't like Joker, so I'm not taking him. Okay. I'm going to go with Richaun Holmes.
Okay, I like it. Excellent. Okay. I think he'll have a big night. I'm going
to make you happy, Andrew.
Oh, well, thanks. I'll just lock in LeVert since you're comfortable with it. 4,400. I don't care what you call this lineup. Hybrid GPP cash craziness. Yeah. He's in there. 4,400.
De'Aaron Fox.
Okay. All right. I like it.
So I got my bookends from Sacramento.
All right. I'm going to, because it's a GPP, I'm going to add another player here, Buddy Hield. It's 6,500. I like his price here.
Stack City.
City. So he's our third king.
How much is he?
65.
Yeah. Okay. So we're done on the Kings. So how about if I go with my guy Rui Hachimura to balance it out a little bit?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
And since we're on small forward, I'll go ahead and add Kevin Porter at 6,300. I mean, he should just get tons of usage with Oladipo out.
I'm with you. I lost my building this on. I'm just doing it by eyeballs now because I'm behind and I don't want to slow us down.
Okay.
I'd like to get us another value guy if possible.
Well, we need a point guard and 2 power forwards. Do you want to put Marcus Morris in as a power forward?
Yes, I do. That's the guy I was just going to say. Correct.
All right.
And that gives us how much?
That gives us, well, let me put him in.
We should have a lot.
We have plenty.
Can we go Russ by any chance?
Yes, we
Because
can.
people are not going to play him because he's more than Luka. And I think people are going to say, why would I play Russ when I can go $200 down and play Luka? And I think Russ outscores Luka tonight. Or do you think I'm crazy?
I don't think you're crazy, and I like him in this lineup to make it more of a game stack. And we don't want to leave Rui Hachimura all by himself in this
That's
game
true.
stack.
He's
So
got to have a running. So we're going to have 5 from this game, which, we said beforehand, you need to have 4 or 5 from this game.
right, so let's get Westbrook in there and see what that leaves you for the other power forward spot. 7,700.
That's plenty of money. I couldn't spend it all in one place if I tried. Uh, oh
Wow,
boy. Any
interesting.
chance we could, I wouldn't mind getting up $100 and going to Tobias.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But if we did that, could we shave 100 somewhere?
I don't know. That would be a tough 100 to shave. I kind of like all the guys we have in here.
Because I don't know. I don't trust Boucher in that game, and I don't trust Grant right now either.
I know.
Um, and I don't like any of the value plays. All right, see if there's a way that we can put Tobias in and shave 100. You can take one of my guys out if you want.
Whew.
I know. Just let's
Uh,
look at it.
I mean, we could go from Westbrook down to Luca, and then we'd hope that Westbrook and Beal split it up a little bit.
Oh, wow. You know, what are the chances we could buy down to Luca?
Hey, maybe
First
we
of
should
all,
do it just for fun.
just for
Let's
the fact
let's
that
buy down to Luca.
that's exact. I mean, we'll never be able to say those
I
words
mean,
again.
exactly. Let's do it when
All
we
right.
can.
I hate to force Luca
Oh,
in,
I mean, he
30
just
point triple double
yeah.
average,
I guess we'll
basically.
take it. We'll take it for 10 too. All right.
Beautiful.
There it is. Fox, Luca, Levert, Heald, Rui, Kevin Porter, Marcus Morris, Tobias Harris, Rashawn Holmes. We've got it locked in on FanDuel. We invite
That's
you
a
to,
winner.
we invite you to play it as well. And we invite you to join us for the rest of our lineups tonight. Full cash lineups on FanDuel, full Yahoo lineup, coach's clipboard on DraftKings. Reach out to us with any questions on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. You can join as a membership right on our website, dfscoachtalk.com, and we'd love to have you. So on behalf of the coach and the rest of the DFS Coach Talk team, thank you for joining us. I'm Andrew Hansen. We'll see you again tomorrow as we look to crush it in DFS.